All right, welcome back to the podcast. Redeemed. Sorry for missing last week, guys. I know you guys were...
Somebody didn't show up to record.
That might have been me. I was on night shift. Slipped right through it. Yep.
All the calls and texts.
Yeah, I got up about 4:30, and we were supposed to meet at 3:30, and I had to go back to work. So it's kind of like, sorry, that's not
Missed that.
So I do apologize. I should have written it down on my calendar.
All three of you guys were sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, all three.
Call Asa.
Yep.
Yeah. Although nobody was calling me saying that, hey, you missed one. So you know.
No. Who would call?
Nobody.
But to all our loyal listeners out there, thank you for sticking with us. We are going to be moving on to the book of Ruth on this fabulous day.
It's a love story.
That's what it's called,
right?
It is a
We
love
Well, that
story.
was its.
Literally talked about that before.
But remember, though, he couldn't remember what he had for breakfast.
That's fair.
So
Okay.
just
We didn't
Yes.
talk about that.
Yes,
we
we
did.
did.
She asked the same question.
I
She
did.
said, it's a love story, right? I said, yes, it's a love story.
And you were
between-
sitting right there.
right here.
Feels like gaslighting. I don't think this happened.
Oh, it happened. It happened
Did.
big time. Yes, love story was the key phrase that if you went through that Bible study umpteen million years ago,
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
or at least when I went through it. I guess they've done it in Sunday school.
They did
or
it
at
in
church a
Sunday
couple
school
times,
last year,
but,
I think.
Yeah. But for me, that was
been a while.
many years ago.
Wow.
It's funny though how those little cards and those little catchphrases still
Yeah.
stick with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah, we know we just did Judges. It was cycles. You know, I can remember it.
Sin
Yeah.
cycle. The
Sin
judge
cycles.
on the motorcycle.
Judge on the motorcycle.
Ruth is like
Yeah.
they're sitting in a house, right?
Yep.
There's a heart on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Her and Boaz.
And Leviticus, I always like that one because the priest was wearing Levi's.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really cool.
Yep.
Actually, Numbers is my favorite.
The wandering, because just
Yeah.
numbers wandering around.
Yeah, they were
desert.
blindfolded. They couldn't
Yep,
see.
just
They were
blindfolded Numbers doing
Yeah.
circles.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
That was
So like I said, it was these little slides, and that stuff must be 50 years old,
Yeah, I don't
40,
know
50
how old
years
it is.
old. You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't even know what it's called.
I was gonna say I'll Google it, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know the name
I don't
of the
remember.
material.
And they were overheads. I mean, that shows you how old it was.
That's
were,
fair.
Yeah.
It was an overhead
Yeah.
projector. You know?
I finally went through when they did it last time, and I took a picture of them, put them on a computer, so that
Yeah.
way
We have it.
we have it now.
Uh-huh. But they were overhead. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, nobody uses that anymore.
No.
So either I'm dating myself or
That's part of it.
Or it's really old.
or it's really old.
I think it was really old when we did it.
Yeah, it was. It was.
I think both can be true.
Yeah.
I think you can date yourself, and it's really old.
Yes. Well, I am really old.
Here we go. We solved it.
Look at that. We got to the bottom of
We
that.
did.
So anyway, we're doing Ruth, which is a love story. Yes, and it's a love story between Ruth and Boaz. Eventually, is what's going to happen. But we're going to start at the beginning because somebody's going to have a very bad day or a bad couple of days.
Few
or,
people are going to have some bad.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not just a day; it's a bad section of time for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, it doesn't really give a time period.
I thought it was interesting too that, and I'm sure I've read this, like I was talking to Amanda about it. I'm sure I've read this many times before, but this happens in the days when the judges ruled. So during Judges, we have the story of Ruth, which I thought was interesting. Like I said, I've probably read that multiple times, but it just never sticks. So
This time it might stick.
this time it might. Okay. And what we have here is we have Naomi. And let's back up. There was a man whose name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi. Okay. And the wife of his two sons were Mahlon and Chilion. And they were Ephraimites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab to live there. Now, what we really have to understand here is first of all, Elimelech, Naomi's husband, he passes away.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to paraphrase here.
That's the start of the bad times.
That's the start of
Yeah.
the bad times. And you think for her it might just stop there, but no, it did not.
At least she has her two sons.
Yes. And very shortly after that, or
Yeah, it doesn't really say that.
Well,
Well, it
it
does
says
actually.
that her husband died. She was
Yep.
left with her two sons. They married Moabite women. After they had lived there about 10 years, both the sons had died.
Well, and their names are important there because that's how we meet Ruth.
absolutely.
But the Moabite women, one was named Orpah,
Yeah. Orpha. Yep.
and
other
the other Ruth.
And the other Ruth. So Naomi, it's kind of the start of our story here at the beginning.
Yep. Sad start.
Yes, in a bad way.
Yeah.
She loses her husband and loses her 2 sons, and then she's stuck with her 2 daughter-in-laws.
She's stuck.
Hope you liked them.
Okay.
Hope you liked them.
Yeah.
And Naomi decides that it's time for her to move on and to do something else. So she has decided that she is no longer going to stay in Moab, and she is going to move back to Israel. Is basically what's going to happen.
Bethlehem
Right.
specifically. Yes.
Bethlehem.
Yep.
And in the process, the 2 daughter-in-laws say they're going to go, and Naomi says, no, we don't need to do that. And it has that whole incident in there where she says, just go back to your own mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. But they still said, no, we'll go back with you. But Naomi said, return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons? Which, as we discussed earlier, it seems like a weird way to look at it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
an interesting thing to point out, but
We did also think that due to the times, people got married at a very young age.
Yeah.
So it may not have been like they'd have to wait till those sons were.
in their 20s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
And so one of them turns and says, "Okay, fine," and leaves. But one stays.
Can you guess who?
Can you guess?
Actually, and the way it puts it is Ruth clung to her.
Yep.
Yes.
Not leaving.
But Ruth replied, "Do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined, really, you think she's determined?
What was the clue?
Yeah. She stopped urging her. Okay. So, it's just, when you look at it, in some ways we can relate to Naomi. Okay? Because it seems like in our lives at some point, there comes a point where there just seems like there's just a bunch of bad things that just happen. Okay. Now, granted, sometimes it's not that you lose your husband and then your sons.
Yeah.
All right. But we do have those days where it just seems like nothing seems to go right. Okay.
Yeah.
And in most of our life, there is at some point going to be some kind of tragedy or something terrible usually happens.
Yeah.
And as we were discussing before, a lot of that has to do with the fact that we live in a fallen world.
Correct.
And so, how'd you say it, Michael? An imperfect world with imperfect beings, something like that. And that's pretty much true. The world's imperfect; it has imperfect people, and so there's just bad things are going to happen.
Yes.
Now, the reason I say that is because sometimes we have a tendency to what? When the bad things happen, we have a tendency to want to blame. We spiral, and then we want to blame God for what's happened. Okay. Now, Naomi also blames God for what's happened. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a minute.
Yep.
But
Tune in next week.
in many ways, that drew her closer to the Lord, though.
Yes.
Okay? The commentary said that it drew her to the Lord in such a way that there was a new honesty between them. You know what I'm saying? So she was coming to the Lord exactly like it was, and she was able to communicate in a totally different way than she did before.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I'm getting at is that even sometimes when the worst things can happen, okay, whether God is to blame or just the product of a fallen world, those things can be used to draw us closer to God. Now, if you were Naomi, that would probably be a pretty tough thing to do.
Yeah, I would
fair.
think so.
You know, because
That's
like
fair.
husbands, sons, boom, they're gone, and now especially in that day and age, because the men were the ones that actually provided.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Correct.
She had
saying?
nobody to take care of her in her old
Exactly.
age.
Exactly. Except for Ruth,
Yeah.
Let's go, Ruth.
Yeah.
which is going to pay off for her in the end.
It is gonna pay off for
It's
her.
going to pay off for her.
Spoiler.
But she doesn't. It's not like she's bitter but she doesn't seem like she gets like mad at God. You know what I'm saying? She's asking questions as to why God's doing this to her.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's not turning her back on God.
Correct.
And I think that's the lesson there, is that when bad things do happen in our lives, that we try to the best of our abilities, try to see the things that maybe the Lord's trying to teach us. Okay? Because the Lord can work through even the worst things.
Sometimes he's trying to get your attention.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not saying that's what was going on with Naomi, but in our own worlds.
Yeah. And we don't know. Maybe this was part of God's plan to draw Ruth and Naomi back to Bethlehem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's where they needed to be. Yeah. If her husband and sons had never died, do you think she'd have moved back? Probably not.
Doubt it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so God was using that to do that. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened.
We don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't say that.
Yeah.
That's
Asa said.
No.
We're not here interpreting God's will.
No.
Right.
Especially
but at the
for
same time, God can work through bad things.
Tragedy.
Everything.
There we go. Thank you.
He can work through good, bad,
Anything.
do it all.
So the trick is just to make sure that that we just don't turn our back on God when the bad things do happen. Okay? And like I said, we live in a fallen world, so bad things are going to happen. It just happens. And that is going to continue to happen till the day we get to heaven.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it says there will be no more pain and no more tears. So then the bad stuff will happen. But quit happening.
Quit happening.
Quit happening. Okay? So let's take Naomi's example and use it. Okay? And also, the next time you're having a bad day, look at Naomi. And if that's not good enough for you, look at Job.
Look at Job.
Yeah.
That guy had...
Someone was having a worse time than you.
Exactly.
Promise.
Exactly.
There's always somebody having a worse day.
Yeah.
And God was using Job as an example. You know what I'm saying?
Poor Job.
Your flat tire sucks, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just keep looking up, keep praising the Lord, and see what he's got in store for you. All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.